city out there.
Wow.
Pastor Chapman, people have seen your bio, but just we want to thank you. Galilee Baptist Church is a great place on the east side, over on Outer Drive on the east side. I also got to know Pastor Chapman is a pastor of pastors, and known nationally too for his work, his ministry, his preaching. And Pastor Chapman, please take your time and please bring the message. Thanks, Pastor Chapman.
Thank you, Bill, and to each of you who joined the call tonight, strangers no longer. And trustingly, we will become allies in our effort to bring about social justice in every respect for everyone. And until everyone is okay, no one is okay, as others seem to feel or contend that because where they are politically, socioeconomically, that all else should be the same or is the same, when in all actuality it is not. That's why we are on this call tonight. Thank you, Bill, for convening us. And I greet you with brotherly love. Several things you guys pointed out. Hate verbiage, racist posts in social media, immigration and discrimination in that regard, and your efforts to convene meetings with police chiefs in your respective cities. I believe I captured all of them. If I missed them, then you can, let me know what they are. As for what I am doing at presently, I have organized an interfaith coalition of pastors throughout Michigan. That's all over Michigan. Imams, rabbis, pastors, Protestants, Catholic, white, black, male, female, for the sake of drafting proposals to recommend to the Michigan legislature, to the governor, to the attorney general, relative to social justice and equal treatment under the law against the backdrop of the United States Constitution. We are not necessarily into immigration, but immigration reform, but it is a social justice issue, as illegal immigrants are family members of legal immigrants in the United States, and hopefully we can make some connection there. Our objective is to move from protest to public policy. Since the George Floyd death, which was pretty much the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, that really woke America up relative to injustice, police misconduct, and the strength of police unions and the misuse or the cover-ups that police unions indulge. I don't mean to suggest, infer, or imply or insinuate that police are bad, but technology has caught up with rogue cops and their treatment of people, and from my vantage point, particularly people of color. My people are dying because of police misconduct and have been for a very, very long time. And I want to say thank you to my Jewish brothers and sisters, Muslim brothers and sisters, white brothers and sisters, Catholic brothers and sisters, Methodist, Lutheran, for coming and rallying around the issue of social justice. If, and it's all right to protest, and we thank God for protests, it raises awareness. But if protest does not result in transformation of public policy, we're just walking the streets holding up signs, yelling and screaming. All of that's fine if it draws attention, but the attention must go into action to affect public policy. And this is where we are at an impasse with the Michigan legislature. As you very well know, it's pretty much controlled by Republican right-wing conservatism that's pushing an agenda from the federal level down, which makes it very, very hard for a Democratic governor and grassroots groups to get anything done. There are several things I could talk to you guys about tonight. These are the things we took to the governor. We've met with the governor virtually. We've met with the lieutenant governor. We went to Lansing. Some of you guys saw the Interfaith Council during our press conference in Lansing last Thursday. We are calling for the following things: residency, police living where they receive their paycheck and therefore take tax dollars away from the tax base where they live. If the killers of George Floyd knew George Floyd, all they would have had to say was, George, you know better, go back and make it right. If Eric Garner would have been known by the police who choked him to death, would have said, Eric, go home, you can't sell cigarettes on the corner in front of the store. When I was growing up as a kid, I grew up in a segregated community and society. I read the signs that said white only, black only. I was turned away from doors of stores, and told, we don't serve you people here. The Ku Klux Klan marches, crosses burning, etc. Those types of optics still remain, and the psychological scars still remain. And to see this recurring through media and television only reopens old wounds. But the police that lived in our town, they knew us, we knew them. And when we saw them coming, okay, it was all right, this is it. You don't do that, you know better. I know your parents, etc. I know where you live, this sort of thing. So I believe residency not only keep tax dollars within the city, but I believe residency will bring people and police closer together, particularly with forums on a regular basis whereby police could hear the venting of people in the neighborhoods or districts or beats wherein they serve. We also have discussed decertification of police who have been found guilty of misconduct. If a lawyer can be disbarred, if a doctor can have their license revoked to the extent that where they cannot practice medicine anymore, why not? And what about the police who has a bad track record of police misconduct? Leave Detroit, go to Royal Oak, leave Royal Oak, go to Farmington, leave Farmington, go serve in Novi, but there is no database to track the record of that bad cop. So if in fact a doctor's license can be revoked, a lawyer's license can be revoked, then I believe those who serve the public should suffer the same consequences. We're also arguing for a review board occupied by the public with subpoena power. Just to observe what police are doing is one thing, but a review board that can hold a police accountable with adequate data and information as of what that police has done incorrectly or to misrepresent their badge, their bars, and their oath of office, they can be held accountable. In other words, we need now someone to police the police. Body cams are often inactive, no audio, distorted video. We're arguing for arrests predicated upon active body cams, no firing into moving cars or a fleeing suspect. Now, the federal government last week, or shall I say, the House passed the George Floyd bill, which is designed to hold police accountable. The governor, as of Monday, I believe, rolled out her police reform that she would support. But in her reform statements, there is no consequences stipulated for police misconduct. So we're in converse with her about that as of last night. And we're going to continue that as we go into next week to see if she is willing to receive our requested or recommended addendums to her police reform rollout. We are also, and you guys, if I'm carrying you too fast, just ask me to slow down. It's quite a bit. And I'm just giving you a few of the things we're asking for. There has been much outcry for defunding the police. We do not believe in defunding the police, but we do believe that the funds can be redirected for more community involvement, i.e. review board, the police. Now, much of the cases that are fought, the charges to those who would attempt to prosecute the police, the funds come from the taxpayers. Our argument is it should come from the police fund, particularly when they lose the case. This also brings up indemnification. If, in fact, I have been assaulted by a police, I go to court, there should be some kind of indemnification to help me recover my financial losses. That does not exist now. We're also requesting that the police who have been found guilty of misconduct will lose their benefits, etc., and that a special prosecutor will be assigned to the case that argues the case in behalf of the citizen who has been assaulted. I could go on and on and on with this, but that's a summation of our argument and our proposals with the governor and with the Michigan legislature. As for the concerns that you brought up tonight, I believe that since we now have a legitimate interfaith coalition, wherever your county is or your city is, if you could pass that information on to Bill, written form or type form, email, he could get that to me. We will locate the pastor or pastors in that area to put you in touch with those pastors or with that pastor so that we can support that pastor collectively as they help facilitate your meeting with the chief of police or with the sheriff, etc. Otherwise, relative to or with regards to immigration, that's another issue that I think we can discuss aside from police reform. So I think, Bill, once we shall have discussed police reform, we could segue into what we could possibly do relative to immigration. I hope I didn't give you guys too much at one time. But it's just this is so grossly affecting our community. And I know we're asking for a whole lot. And the Attorney General is going to help push this agenda. Some of what's going to be done will be done by executive order through the governor. And some of it is going to happen via referendum. And we can discuss that if you guys like. I'll entertain your questions.
Jim Dwyer is teacher at Cristo Rey High School in Southwest Detroit. Jim Dwyer, you have a question. By the way, if anyone has a question, it's helpful if you write it out, write up a quick question so I can see it. Eventually, if we'll have you raise your hand. But Jim Dwyer from Cristo Rey. Jim, unmute yourself. Reverend Chapman, I'll read Jim's question.
Okay.
What are the best ways to divert funds currently going to police departments? How can we provide other pathways for young men and women to, quote, protect and serve our community without being a police officer?
Well, with regards to the funding, that's going to be a fight with the unions. We already know that. That's a very, 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 the governor can impose upon that. The attorney general cannot impose upon that. It's going to take a very strong argument from the grassroots level to have funding redirected to community groups, taxpayer dollars to community groups more so than to police. So as to how individuals can serve a community without becoming a police, and of course police are not so embraced at this time, and I'm not so certain that private security companies is the absolute solution. I think it will take a meeting of the minds that we have tonight and with some key people to make recommendations as of how we can secure our communities. Now, if individuals can be deputized and with indemnification or insured, say for instance at our church, we have some 14, 15 people who are legally licensed to carry. We have partnered with the Detroit Police Department for their secondary job phase, which means police are allowed to police the church while in assembly. We also carry insurance by our insurer to cover the police in the event that anyone, God forbid, would be hurt or harmed. And I think that's just one approach that I think people would be amenable to, and that is deputizing individuals, covering such individuals with insurance, and making sure that we have a city ordinance to back that up.
Kathleen Rogers, unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Pastor Chapman, I just wanted to get some clarification. You mentioned that if we are planning to go to speak to our local police chief, that you would appreciate it if we would let Bill know. And then the idea would be you could identify people that are a part of your council that perhaps could accompany us on that visit. Is that, I just want to make sure I understood that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
I think if imams, rabbis, priests, cardinals, pastors could get behind this, any social justice issue, and put the pressure. You vote, people vote, church members vote, parishioners vote. So whoever's a member of a mosque or a temple or a parish carries a lot of influence with a pastor or pastors leading the drive. And this is not to say that you guys can't lead it, but with that kind of presence with your committee will get a better response from the authorities that you're trying to have converse with. And quite frankly, they're not dodging you by accident. It's all intentional. We know that, because they know that you come with policies or recommendations for public policy that will prevent them from exploiting the community, their tax dollars, et cetera, and getting away without any accountability. They know you bring that to the argument. And if we continue to put pressure on while the nation is alarmed, while people are protesting, I think we can get greater results now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, if anybody has a question, raise your hand, or hopefully I'll be able to see it. Anybody got a question right now for Pastor Chapman before I ask mine? All right. Okay, so far as that, go ahead, Ro Schultz.
I saw something on the Today Show. Oh, am I muted or can you hear me?
You're fine. You're good.
Okay. I saw something on the Today Show about a city in Colorado is trying to get mental health professionals involved in helping the community, sending them out rather than a police officer to handle the situation. And in fact, I had a family member who had a mental health issue and was initially assaulted the first time the police were called. But then once they knew about his situation, when they were called the second time, it was treated differently. But it just seems such a great way to divert funds to have mental health professionals just coming wearing jeans and being approachable to the people.
Thank you. It de-escalates before converse even gets started, before there's a dialogical exchange between police and citizen that could quickly become a heated argument and altercation, a physical altercation. Now, that's one of the executive orders that the governor is initiating and will sign, so that police, we recommended that police receive psychiatric evaluation every 6 months, probably should be 3, because they deal with so much on a day-to-day basis. But having the proper training, psychiatric evaluation, and the presence of a mentally ill or an expert in the area of mental illness would help police better police the community. Now, it's tough when police, we understand, have to make split decisions. You take the Tamir Rice case, the young kid who had a toy pistol, and the police, perceived it to have been a real gun and shot the kid and killed him. But the kid was mentally ill. So situations like that will help police to better approach a situation, de-escalate it, and bring about resolution without death or perceiving imminent danger.
Bill?
Yes, go right ahead.
Just 2 comments. One, Pastor, I didn't mention one of my other roles is I serve as chair of Catholic Charities of Southeast Michigan. And one of the services we provide is in the area of mental health, to follow up on Ro's point. So that would be an area that we could be of service to the community.
Yes, yes. We need you on the line next Monday night.
And the second comment is, I didn't mention earlier, is I have the oldest school in the city of Detroit, Most Holy Trinity, both public and private. It's been going since 1838. Mm-hmm. But now it's the most diverse school in the city. It's a mixture of Afro-Americans, Latinos, and whites, and we really consider our diversity one of our strengths. And so following up on a comment you made, during the protest, I sent a letter to our parents, and I quoted from Dr. Martin Luther King's letter from the Birmingham jail, where he talks about the function of protest. It's, as you said, it's not just to cause noise. There's a purpose. The purpose is, I'm paraphrasing now, he says that the purpose of protests is because the other side has refused to negotiate. And the protest is to bring things to the table. I mean, I'm paraphrasing in his letter.
Yeah, it's the voice of negotiation.
Right, exactly. And it's supposed to be nonviolent, according to him, but it's supposed to lead to action and policy, not just to make noise, to the point you made earlier.
Yeah, and let me just say this before I forget it, relative to bringing about social justice reform overall. your district is represented by a representative. And I
Brenda
think,
Lawrence.
yeah, right. Strong letters by your individual group, your parish, to those who represent that district in Lansing, voicing all of the reforms is helpful. And we must keep the pressure on. That goes for phone calls, correspondence, email, hard copy, whatever the means of communication is, because they love to come to our churches, you know, during on the election circuit, during election year. And once they occupy the office, the people who received them gladly, applauded their political platform, only to be forgotten about having taken their seats, a policy-making position in Lansing, in state houses, etc. And those who voted are still left to deal with the ills of society. So I think with your expertise, next Monday will be quite helpful in our discussion in response to the governor's rollout. And as for others who would like to affect this, these initiatives, start writing and keep writing.
Yeah, I don't know about Monday. I'll get info from Bill.
Yeah, well, if I could get your email information, the faith-based liaison, Dion Williams, he's the faith-based liaison between the governor and the faith community. We'll email the call information for you, and we'll look forward to talking with you Monday night.
All right, very good, Pastor.
Yes.
Sister Karen Donahue, are you?
Yeah, I'm still here. Pastor Chapman, I think you have already answered my questions. I was going to ask what kind of actions can we take within our parishes to promote these bills that you're talking about.
I'll tell you what I could do.
You mentioned, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you mentioned, contacting our representatives and state senators. I'm wondering if something like a statement from the Archdiocese in support of these bills, would that be something that would carry weight?
I'll tell you what will happen after Monday night. Once the interfaith clergy have come to terms with what we will propose to the governor as addendums to her rollout, I could forward that to Bill. Bill could forward that to you, and you can draft your letters and correspondence based upon what we support collectively. And I think that will strengthen your argument, our argument, those who own this call tonight, and the pastors across the United States, across the state of Michigan.
Thank you.
Kay Sofaro, and then Rich Faba. Kay, unmute yourself, Kay. Kay, go
There we
ahead.
go. All right, finally. I'm very interested. So much talk and so much controversy has been circling around the idea of redirecting police funding. And you mentioned possibly some victim indemnification. Is there anything else creative that you could speak to us about? I'm particularly interested in things that we could do with youth. Positive things that we can do. Has anything like that been proposed?
It has been proposed by Black Lives Matter, that organization that we involve youth, training, black and white, interracial, interfaith, on an academic level, so as to bring about a better understanding between races, religions, and other dynamics that in which people have to live. So yes, I believe monies can be, this is just my personal opinion, can be allocated for training for mental health or dealing with people with mental health issues,
Okay.
with youth and adolescents and interaction with police. You know, I have to, or had to, now my sons are grown, for a long time say to my sons, this is what you do when you're stopped by police.
Right, right.
This is what you don't say. This is how you do not respond, etc. Now that had to be said every day, while on their way to school. And, so I think if there is, and I don't know where Betsy DeVos is with all of the COVID issues and going back into school, I don't know where she is. But I think the director of education should get on top of this and begin crafting curriculum for children in first grade level forward for interracial interaction, interfaith interaction, and so forth. And I believe funds can be redirected for that very purpose. It would take a congressperson to perhaps better answer it as of how it can be done.
Good, because I was going to say, having been an educator, I understand the educational part. I'm thinking something a little bit more action oriented, where youth are really involved in some activities, actions that maybe involve some learning, but that are, I don't know, I just think that there could be some real psychological health brought about to both sides, so that there's a better self-concept, whatever. I just believe there's a lot of room for that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I believe it as well. Thank you for the question.
Rich, go ahead, Father Kasanke.
Well, I'm encouraging our diocese to look at that for Catholic schools. That won't take a congressman to do that. We can do that on our own. Also, Pastor Chapman, before the pandemic, Mayor Duggan suggested for churches to use their gyms during the summer to help with community programs. But obviously, because of COVID, I think that kind of fell apart now, or maybe the funds are not available now. But that is something that should still be considered. Our school just finished a $3 million new gym auditorium, and we hope to use it for community use. Yeah. It's air conditioned, and it's going to be great. It's going to be finished about another month. I told the mayor it won't be ready until next summer, but that's still something the city should pursue.
Right. He offered like $20,000 per participating church to cover their summer program for recreation for churches, those that had adequate facilities. I'm sure that he's still privy to do that. The only challenge now is that COVID has pretty much forced churches to close their facilities, and people gathering together in enclosed areas. So I can say with confidence that he's yet amenable to carrying that program forward.
Yes, sir. You have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yes, my name's John Wool. I'm a member of Love Rising Lutheran Church in Detroit. I'm a longtime Detroiter. I've been an activist in the city for many years. I'm part of the LGBTQ community for over 50 years. And as I hope many of you know, that Black Lives Matter were started by 3 women who were also gay, and they were all Black, right, and one of them was transsexual. Right. And I know that I'm part of the ELCA, which they call the whitest church in America. And even though I am part of a urban congregation and have been for the last 6 or 7 years, it's a great thing to talk about all of these things, but if we're not really talking about them every single day, if we're not in our pulpits talking about gay rights, about having women in the pulpit, about having gays in the pulpit, about accepting everyone, that without zero discrimination, we will always have discrimination in our country. And this is something for all of our communities to look at. Most of the people in my suburban churches want to come to church and then they want to go to brunch. They don't want to hear about all of this stuff. But we have to be the ones to talk about it. And we need to talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. But we don't, because we're concerned about the people in the pews walking. We are nervous about the long time parishioners walking because they don't want to hear it anymore. They've become fed up with it. Well, if we're going to be fed up with racism and everything else, we need to be fed up with everything. Now, I love the idea of the conversations about advocacy in the neighborhoods, doing more with not only children, but adults. But until we change housing and education, we change the structure of virtually everything in our country, we are not going to be terribly successful. Unfortunately, many of us won't see this in our lifetime. But I'm wondering from Pastor Chapman, how do we approach, because we've got to have a grassroots lift. Yes, it's great that all the pastors and the members of our group that I was invited to witness tonight, which I really appreciate seeing, are in Lansing and are doing stuff right now and working on these pieces. But how do we develop that grassroots piece that's going to really raise our ideas up and make real change?
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you. Go ahead, Reverend Chapman.
I think we're doing it right now. We're having this discussion right now, and we're going to continue to having this discussion, but the discussion must be converted to proposals. Proposals must be converted to public policy. And I think it is a civil rights issue. Whomever is discriminated against based upon their sex, sexual orientation, the color of their skin, their religion, you know, the whole gamut. So the argument for civil rights and social justice goes across the board. It just happens that our argument now is concentrated on police misconduct. This is not to say, suggest, or infer that we cannot fight along with the gay community or the Black Lives community or the Me Too community or movement. You know, all of it concerns civil rights. And I believe concurrent with moving from discussion to proposal, from proposal to public policy, it will have to happen, and sometimes will only happen at the polls. During the midterm election, that's where the rubber hits the road, because it really doesn't matter who a president is in the White House. There has to be federal guidelines laid forth, supported by a Senate and a House of Representatives that will support the causes for the benefit of people who are oppressed and people who are discriminated against. So all of these components and dynamics, I believe, go hand in hand, from protest, discussion, protest, proposal, policy, and policy to the polls. And if we can affect this by electing people, and those of our concerns that are not voiced by the politician, if we could raise the money to get our concerns on the ballot as a referendum, and the people will vote it into law, and the lawmakers will have no choice but to abide by it.
Thank you, Reverend. Two more questions, and then I think we asked, I'm not sure, I can't remember how long we asked for your time, but we got two more questions for you. Rich Faba. Rich?
Yeah, Reverend, first off, I want to thank you for a wonderful summary of what you're working on. I guess we would love to have you send us, when you can, some kind of a written document that shows those issues and the and things you've made, because we really would like to help you put those into action. So when you get something ready for us, we'd love to have that so we can publish that to our membership and certainly aid you in this fight. Thank you for all your time.
Thank you. And let me go back to the last pastor who questioned about the gay rights. Now, part of our proposal from the coalition, this did not come from the governor's rollout as of Monday, but part of our proposal is that any statement, any gesture, any comment, any graphic that's targeted towards any person, Black or person based upon their religion or their sex or their sexual orientation or race, be classified as a hate crime. that's in our proposal. We sent that to the governor last week. And it was in a part of our press conference, our statement during our press conference. So just to let you know that we're already on top of that.
So Reverend, you'll send, when you'll let us know, you'll give us a list of, or a summary of your,
Yes.
Yes. Proposals. Another
Yes.
question, and then I think I told you, if you look, or at least we who know each other, there's people here from Southern Wayne County, from Monroe County, from St. Clair County, Detroit, of course, Wayne County, Oakland. What if many of the people, most of the people on the call tonight are very strong and loyal leaders in their church? What is the message? What is the message they should carry to their pastor? What would you want more pastors and more congregations to do? You've already said about the letters. If there's a pastor that wants to be of particular help, should the pastor contact you, or how should we work that?
I'm gonna have Dion Williams to forward you the Zoom call information. We want to keep this interfaith clergy. As we, continue to advocate for social justice, I think it would be helpful if one of the Strangers No Longer organization represents Strangers No Longer, Monsignor Kasenki, and I would love to have him on the line next Monday night, or on the call next Monday night, to talk about the mental health piece. But I think one person from a pastor from Strangers No Longer to become a part of the coalition, to at least represent Strangers No Longer, would help strengthen our cause.
Great. So there's, if we give you a round of applause, is that you willing to do that for Strangers No Longer? We'll give you a full-blown affirmation there, Father Kasenki. Is that all right? Unmute yourself.
Sure, a cup of coffee would have been better, but yeah, I'll take it.